What up, y'all? Star Wars Steph here, and we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 underrated cards in Spark Rebellion. Now, this is just going to be my personal opinion, but yeah, let's take a look at it. Let's get right into it. First off, we have an event. It is a 6-cost aggression card, and it is called Forced Surrender. So the text reads, draw 2 cards. For each opponent's base you have damaged this phase, discard 2 cards from their hand. Now, this card is very important because it is not only a late game to mid game bomb via hand control, where most of our bombs in this game are going to be affecting the board in forms of large space units and large ground units. This one actually is a great source of hand control. Now, this deck really only works best in control decks, so the likes of Iden and Darth Vader can especially utilize this card to great success. Shirt is another deck, if you're playing a Shirt red deck, that can also take advantage of this card. Another upside of this card is the first line of text. Not only is it hand control, but it also is draw power as well, which means that between this action phase and your next regroup phase, you're going to be seeing 4 cards from the top of your deck that you would not necessarily have seen had you not played this card. Now, sure, you are giving up a play in order to affect your opponent's hand and not the board, but if you have been controlling the board throughout the game, this card can be very, very effective. Next up, we have a 2-cost event, another event. It is a green unit, and it is Prepare for Takeoff. Now, this card lets you search through the top 8 cards of your deck for up to 2 vehicle units, reveal them, and draw them. Put the other cards from the bottom of your deck in any random order. Now, this is a very good card because, in my opinion, because space units are very few and far between in a lot of decks. Usually, you see anywhere from 9 to 12. The highest that I've seen, obviously, would be like a Grand Admiral Thrawn deck, and that's going to be playing upwards of 15 to 20. But yeah, in a game where space units, like I said, are kind of harder to find, this can be a very important card in certain decks. So it increases the likelihood of you seeing those space units, especially if you have some that you're siding in that you definitely know will affect a matchup. Another great advantage of this card is that it can be played very early within the game, as it is a 2-cost. Yeah, I just think this card has a lot of potential and we'll see a lot more play in the future, especially if we are even cutting down on our space units in certain command decks. Next up, we have the Regional Governor. Now, this one, you know, it is a card that does see play already, but I think that it is actually very underutilized. And I think, especially when we get to a point where we have competitive events where it's open deck lists, where everybody has a deck list sheet, this card has to be an auto-include in many, many decks. And even if you know the metagame, this card, you can use it to your advantage. So this card's really, really good because it can be a great and early game card, and it's even better late game. So yeah, this card, if your opponent's on a certain amount of resources, you can definitely call out a specific card and, you know, hope that they don't have that card. Or if you have used the Viper Probe Droid, which these are actually can be played on curve very, very effectively. Your first turn, you can play the Viper Probe Droid. Second turn, look at their hand with the Viper Probe Droid. Second turn, play down the Regional Governor, and you're basically nullifying a card that is in their hand, especially if it's a very strong card, right? During Boba's turn, if they have 6 resources, you might want to call something like Fet's Fire Spray. If they have 5 resources, you might want to call something like Steadfast Battalion and or Bosk, or even the amazing Overwhelming Barrage. But yeah, I think this card has a lot of potential and will get even better once we get organized play, larger events where it is a open decklist environment. Next up, we have another event. It's a 3-cost heroism unit. And it is You Are My Only Hope. I think this card actually has a ton of potential, untapped potential, to be played. Just because even though it is an event that you play, it will get you another card, if that makes sense. So basically, you are playing 1 card, but you are effectively can pay 5 less for a card. So let's read the text. Look at the top card of your deck. You may play it. It costs 5 less. If your base has 5 or less health remaining, you may play it for free instead. Now, essentially, this makes any 5-cost a 3-cost, theoretically. And also, it works best with 4 cards I believe in. Synergizes very, very well with that, just because that allows you to stack your deck depending on how you want it. And if you're playing like a blue-red hero deck, a great play that comes to mind would be to stack a Luke Skywalker and or stack an Obi-Wan Kenobi. and you're going to be paying actually less for those. So you can make Luke Skywalker a 5 cost, and if you essentially if you have 5 or less health remaining, you can play him for free. Well, you'll be paying the cost of the event, but nonetheless, another really good card to get would be Obi-Wan Kenobi, especially if you're on that 5 or less health remaining and your opponent is really pushing via the ground arena. You can grab that Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it has Sentinel, so it'll be protecting your units. Next up, we have the Pirated Starfighter. Now, this is a 2-cost space unit that is pretty underutilized, if you ask me, and can be very, very amazing. So it is a cunning aspect card, played in Boba, if you ask me. I think this card has the most uses in Boba. It is a very big body at 4 health, especially at a 2 cost, something that your opponent won't be able to deal with immediately. And it is a low cost 3 attack unit. So it has 2 attack, but text on it reads that it gains raid 1 while attacking, and that is pretty good. The last line of text, which I think is the most important here, is when played, return a friendly non-leader unit to its owner's hand. So I think this has a very interesting interaction with Fet's Fire Spray. If you are later in the game, say that you're on your 8th resource turn, a potential play with this would be to swing with your Fet's Fire Spray into their base. You then play the Pirated Starfighter, pick up the Fet's Fire Spray, and then on your next action, you'll play it down again and it'll come in readied. A potential 10 damage on your opponent's base in 1 turn. Now, this is going to be a very good card later in the game if your opponent was able to survive your Boba turn. Now, that is the top 5 cards that I think are very interesting and are underutilized in the Star Wars Unlimited Spark of Rebellion meta. If you have any that you think or you disagree, leave a comment down below, and thank you for watching.